Hello, everyone. Welcome to Using Yoga to Reduce Stress and Anxiety. This is lesson or practice 7 in a series of practices designed to help you learn about stress and anxiety, the body's biological stress response, and then the counter to that, the body's biological relaxation response. And so we're really learning, in a nutshell, how to change the physiology within us from being in fight or flight and being sort of at the height of our awareness to relaxing and kind of sinking inside and letting the external world kind of release and fall away. So that's the basic idea of this class. I use a book called Yoga for Anxiety a lot. I've taught out of this book for years. There's meditations and practices for calming the body and mind. And it's written by a woman named Mary Nuri Stearns and her husband, Rick Nuri Stearns. And so go ahead and lie down on your back. I like to have something soft under my head, not too high up off the ground. And then just position your arms and legs in whatever way is comfortable for you. Sometimes straight legs feels great with the feet turned out to the side. Other times legs or feet rather out wide with the knees and tops of the legs together can feel better on the back. Positioning your spine to make it as straight as possible, and then turning your nose to the ceiling. And just letting the back side of your body release against the floor behind you, the earth under that. Closing down the eyes is really important too. And you'll lie there breathing with your eyes closed in order to begin to pay more attention to your internal environment. Watching your breath move through your body. And next, we'll begin a pranayama practice. We'll use belly breathing. And so as you're ready to begin, let your next inhale be pulled deeper down towards the navel. Try as you keep breathing in and out to let those in breaths fill the navel as it softens and lifts. And with each exhale, as it tightens and lowers, relaxing the abdominal muscles and letting them expand, and then contracting the abdominal muscles and letting them pull together. Continue with these deeper belly breaths as you feel comfortable doing. And when you've reached 5 to 7 of these breaths, go ahead and release your pranayama, your breath work. Let your body go back to a little bit of a rhythm, an ebb and flow that continues without your monitoring or thinking about it. Today's focus on reducing stress and anxiety starts with a new chapter, chapter 2 of this book, and a quote at the beginning. Father Thomas Keating said, "The fruit of great damage in early childhood, shame, causes us to identify with our limitations in such a way that we don't recognize our basic goodness or the possibilities we have to manifest the creative potential of the human spirit." And it just sort of speaks to the root of our anxiety and our stress often comes across in ways that kind of manifest in us not having self-confidence. And so really our thoughts are what fuel our anxiety and some of our stress. The kinds of thoughts that cause higher levels of cortisol in the body are those that tell us we're not worthy, that we're flawed human beings. And these painful thoughts smolder and ignite and grow. And usually they're the same ones that have been with us since childhood. Another way thinking contributes to more anxiety and therefore higher stress is by escalating the resulting anxiety when we're triggered into a flashback. And no matter what the original cause, whether it's biological or environmental, our mind reacts to feeling anxious in a way that makes it perpetuate and increase anxiety's hold. So when you think, oh no, here it comes again, you're responding to those initial familiar nervous feelings that take place in the body. Take one more breath here, and we're going to begin a low and slow flow. A very gentle practice today is going to be coupled with some more information about how our thinking makes us anxious, with the idea that we'll eventually look at how to change our thinking so that we don't use thinking patterns that drive us into those feelings of anxiety. So we're going to start out our movement here by wiggling our toes and our fingers in whatever position you're in. And just give that a few moments here. Maybe start to move it into your wrists, if you'd like, into your ankles, if that feels good. And let's go ahead next and bend up through each knee, placing our feet on the floor. And we can kind of flatten and straight or scooch, adjust as we need to. Feet are about hip distance apart, and we're feeling rooted through the bottom of our feet on our mat. We're going to start windshield wipering, and we can make this movement as small as we'd like to begin with, and just sort of start to let the knees sway. I like to build, and just let the body start to move very slowly. And as it kind of loosens up, you might find that your knees are going a little bit more from side to side. On the next inhale, you can lift your arms out to the side, maybe into cactus arms or above your head, getting them out of the way. And then as you move and breathe, just continue to let the legs release more and more towards the floor here. And let's attach our breath here as well. So we're windshield wipering. We're inhaling to lift the knees, exhaling to lower the knees. So we're really slowing the knee sway side to side down here. And At some point, if you'd like to keep the knees released and just sort of take a breath here, you can. Wait for the next round, for the inhale to lift them up, the exhale to lower them, and take an extra breath there, if that feels good. Let the next inhale lift your knees back up and over to the opposite side, and let's turn the head away from the knees. And let's just take a few breaths here in this nice gentle twist. And on the next inhale, go ahead and lift the knees back up toward the ceiling, the nose back up to the ceiling, and then let everything fall the opposite direction. So knees go to the opposite side, head goes opposite as well. Taking a couple breaths here in this gentle twist. And then let's inhale, head comes up, nose to sky, knees to sky. And from here, let's draw our arms down by our sides. Feet are still pressing into the floor, knees bent to the sky. And let's begin with some pelvic tilts. So see if you could start to tuck the tailbone or fan it out first and then tuck. And just rock back and forth. Again, this movement can be as small as it's comfortable doing at the beginning, and it can grow to be more of a stretch if that feels good and comfortable to you. I think keeping the body inside of the range of comfort is super important, because discomfort causes stress and anxiety to happen. Let's draw our pelvis back to neutral from there, and let's lift just the right foot up towards the sky. And let's start to point and flex this leg. We'll keep the heel about up over that hip, and we'll point and flex. And then open that knee out to the side. Let the ankle come to the opposite knee in a figure four. And you can take your palm, pressing this away if that feels good. You could also interlace your hands behind the thigh, lifting that knee in towards you, bringing both legs in. Maybe straightening the stem part of the figure four, or keeping that knee bent. Feel your legs start to loosen up a little bit. Continue to breathe as you spend a little bit of time here, feeling the slow release to the body here. With the next exhale, release your legs, let your feet uncross, float down to the mat. And let's do a couple of windshield wipers again, back and forth, rocking across the backs of the hips. Let's bring the knees back up to center, and we'll set up our figure four on the opposite side. First, lifting up the stem, or sorry, not the stem, the knee that you'll bend. We'll point and flex just like we did before. Then we'll move the knee out to the side, set up our figure four on this side, push the thigh away with the palm for a moment or two, a breath or two. Continue doing this if it feels good. If not, you can come in to a closer folding shape, drawing both legs in, letting The hips stretch, pressing through the heel of the leg that's closest to you, the heel that's closest. And taking a few more breaths with this figure four position. One more breath. And as you exhale, go ahead and release your hands, release your legs, uncross, and let's windshield wiper back and forth. Knees back up to the sky. Let's draw our arms right alongside our body and set ourselves up for bridge. So figure out where your heels need to be so that as you press into your feet and lift your hips, the heels will be somewhat under your knees. And then you'll have lots of control to lift and lower the hips as you press down through your arms and hands and lift up through the hips. So as you're ready, inhale to lift and then exhale to lower. And let's do a few rounds of these. Option to inhale, lifting the hips and both arms up over the head. And as you exhale, releasing hips and spine at the same time, you draw your arms back down by your side. So the thoughts that cause anxiety come from your brain being automatic and familiar, so much so that you might even be oblivious to them, consider them normal, or both. And you're just lifting and lowering into bridge, and as you release, you can rest for a breath if that feels good. So lots of times what's in our minds are thoughts about who we believe we are. And if, as the fruit of childhood wounding, you believe that you're an inferior person, you have a deep belief that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, you might carry it around in your head throughout your life and suffer from pain associated with it. Go ahead and release your spine to the floor and stay there for a few breaths. Believing in lies like this, one that says we're less than others, is a root cause of anxiety. From here, let's make our way over onto one side, stacking our shoulder, stacking our hip. And then we'll press up and away from the ground, coming up into a table on hands and knees here. Good. From here, let's begin cat-cow. What we'll do once we've placed our wrists either shoulder distance apart or slightly more distant, our knees are right under our hips. Let's press on the feet, the knees, and the hands, and we'll round our spine, tuck our head and tailbone. And then let's go to neutral with our spine. So we'll lift our head and tailbone to neutral. Now let the navel release towards the ground. You can lift, your gaze, looking to the top of the mat, lifting your tailbone and going back and forth. Let's bring our spine to neutral and let's step our left leg back behind us. We'll extend the foot away from the body. You can keep it lifted or bring the toes to the floor if you'd like. But we're trying to lengthen the leg here as we activate our core, work with our breath to keep it steady. From here, let's lift the foot so it's on top of the knee. We're making a right angle with the leg. And now let's press through the heel that's lifted and inhale to lift up, exhale to lower. Inhale to lift up, exhale to lower. Inhale to lift, exhale to lower. We bring the knee all the way down into position. And we'll start with the right side of the body. So on the next inhale, step that right foot back. Keep the toes lifted or let them touch lightly or more so. Really ground them to keep your balance if that's comfortable. Then we'll bend this knee, bringing the heel on top of the knee. And then inhale to lift towards the sky. We'll press through that heel, lifting the sole of the foot to the sky. Exhale to lower, keeping our knee higher than the hip or at hip height, depending on where we are. Doing this 3 to 4 times, and then releasing that leg. Let's sway the hips from side to side or sink the hips back and down and come into a child's pose. Inhale to lift back up to your table. Engage the core here. Set up your hands so that they're comfortable. Your wrists are comfortable too. From here, let's lift the left knee straight up and out like a fire hydrant, and then lift the knee towards the elbow. Place it back in line with the hips, and then release the left knee to the floor. We'll do the same thing on the right. Let the next inhale sweep that knee up and out to the side. Then we'll draw the knee towards the elbow on that side, bring it back, and then lower it back down. Let's sink back and down into child's pose again. Taking a breath or two here, big toes touching, knees together or apart. And then let's inhale, coming back up to our table here. We'll tuck under our toes, press on our feet, press on the palms of the hands, press through the tips of the fingers, and we'll lift the hips and knees up and back, coming into downward facing dog. Take a moment here to walk your dog. Spend some time breathing, stretching, enjoying, maybe releasing, coming back into table if that's helpful. Maybe coming back up into down dog. See if you can do a few breaths in down dog. We'll start a flow, a low and slow flow, moving from down dog to Sphinx. So we can drop the knees, walk the hands and arms forward, come down onto the elbows and forearms, and take a few breaths in Sphinx. Releasing the hips to the floor, the thighs, maybe the knees. Pointing the toes, resting the feet on the ground, or lifting the feet slightly and toes slightly. Elbows slightly in front of the shoulders or more markedly away from the shoulders. However it feels good on your back, whatever position is appropriate for the amount of arch that your back wants to go to that position to stretch. From here, we exhale to release head and chest to the ground. And to do that, we move the elbows out to the side, lifting the hands, drawing them back so we can come up to table and back down into child's pose. So we'll do this 3 pose flow. You self-monitoring your flow from one position to the other. between down dog, sphinx, and child's pose. I'll probably give you 3 or 4 minutes for this flow, and then we'll move on to the rest of our movement class. So, the thoughts that cause anxiety, that increase our stress, are often automatic and familiar. When we hear the term inferiority complex, we understand that it refers to a strong underlying feeling of personal inferiority that frequently causes either inhibited behavior or aggressive behavior. Believing that you're not capable enough creates a lack of trust in your ability to navigate through life. You may avoid risk taking, and you may seek to play it safe in order to avoid provoking your anxiety. As a result, you may lessen your anxiety, but you've made your world become more small, confined, and stagnant. Perhaps you may have responded to the sense of being inferior by overcompensating for it. Through hard work and pure grit, maybe you've made yourself, quote, good enough. You probably try hard and strive towards perfection. And rather than trust your instincts and intelligence, sometimes you defer to standards that you've adopted. Sometimes as the years go by, it may dawn on us that we don't really know ourselves. And that's when we can discover the deep currents of anxiety that have lived within us for a long time. We identify with thoughts. They're as intimate as our breath, and that they live inside of us and affect every aspect of our life. Many of the thoughts that cause anxiety have the origin in childhood, residing in the background of our awareness, but they exert great influence, these unconscious thoughts. Thoughts can have a great impact whether they're perceived or unconscious. Sometimes it's this we have a secret life in our thinking mind that projects out into the conscious world. One of the things when I work with young students that's most surprising to them is the idea that we're more than our thoughts. Essential to the ability to reduce our anxiety is realizing that we're much more than what we think we are. It's good news because it means that no concept or idea comes close to capturing the essence of who we are. Words don't define us is a huge insight, one that helps us to stop believing words that cause us to feel bad about who we are. Let's move on with our movement and continue thinking about our thoughts in a little bit. So make your way to child's pose if you're not there already. Take a couple of breaths here. And then on the next inhale, let's stretch our bodies belly down out on our mats. And then turn to one side. I'm going to turn to my left side first. So I'm going to put my left arm up along my ear, up over my head, and my right hand is here, either pressing firmly into the mat or pressing more lightly into the mat to keep myself balanced, whatever works for you here. Let's come into side tree. So let's first try to orient the legs as if you're standing on the floor. We'll take the leg that you're going to bend, the top leg, your knee with, and we'll bend that knee out to the side and bring the sole of the foot up onto the lower leg's inner thigh. And now we'll balance here for just a few breaths. Trying to keep the bent knee held open, trying to keep hips in alignment stacked, shoulders in alignment stacked on top of each other. From here, let's move into hand to big toe. So we'll take our first two fingers of the top hand, the hand that's most lifted, and we'll lift the foot up off of the lower leg. We can wrap the first two fingers perhaps around the toe and straighten the leg. And if that whole movement is not possible for you, you can lower the knee any amount and straighten the leg using your core. Just trying to get a little stretch here with a straight leg. So there's lots of different options of how to achieve that. On the next exhale, release your leg if you haven't already, and roll over onto the other side. Go ahead and use the same process of raising the bottom arm and hand up over your head by your ear. So if you're on your right side, your right arm is reaching up above your head, and the left hand is helping support you and balance you here. And as you feel you're ready, go ahead and bend up through that top knee. Find your standing tree pose. Trying to stack hips, stack shoulders, keep that left knee lifted into the air, bent to the sky. And if you'd like, you can straighten this leg out. You can take your fingers, hold on to the toe or not. You can support your leg with the hand, or just straightening the leg from a side position, from tree into something that's going to stretch those muscles in that top leg. And then as you're ready, we'll release. We're going to move from here back into child's pose. So make your way onto hands and knees, lifting the spine up away from the floor. Big toes touch. Hips sink down and back. Arms stretch up over the head or down alongside the legs. Hands towards the feet. And take a few breaths there. On your next inhale, come back up to your tabletop. And we'll make our way into pigeon. So let's place our hands, two handprints above where they are in table, and then rock onto one knee to draw the opposite knee up towards one of the wrists. Same side. We can sink the back part of our body, try to lower our hips to the floor. This is where we can use a block under the lifted hip with the bent knee. We can scooch the heel of the bent knee in front of the opposite thigh. And we'll stay lifted here for a few breaths, hands supporting the upper body. Take a few deep breaths. Feel the length of the upper body coming up out of the hips. At the same time, the hips are sinking, or this one hip is sinking forward. Both hips are basically sinking forward in some way or another. One in flexion, one in extension. And now let's begin to lower the body if that feels good to you. So you can come down onto your elbows, perhaps come down off of the elbows and onto your chest. So again, realizing that words don't define you or thoughts don't define you is a huge insight. And whatever the content of your thoughts, maybe they aren't so negative, right? They can still be an incomplete definition or description of who you are. And the thinking mind is only one part of who you are. It's kind of a strange duality because even though you're immensely more than your thoughts, you unavoidably identify with them. Now, while it's human nature to identify with thoughts, as we grow in our childhood, there is more to it. Inhale and lift up, coming slowly up out of this pigeon, drawing the knee we reached forward with back, maybe coming into a counter pose for a moment, child's pose, or on your belly. On the next inhale, come back up into table, making your way slowly, especially if you're coming up from your belly. We'll walk our hands, two handprints forward again. This time, rock opposite side to lift the knee forward, sinking the hips down, lengthening that back leg, pointing the toe, resting the top of the foot. Holding strong here with elbows not locked, not totally straight, but propping you up, lifting you here, keeping you lifted, supporting you. Releasing, melting your body towards the floor, coming down onto forearms or onto your chest. So, humans are storytellers. And even as a child, we all told stories to ourselves about who we are. And like every story, stories of a self-identity have themes. Stories about who we are circulating or circulate rather around two core themes: your personal competency and your lovability. The theme of competency, shows up as variations of I'm smart, or I'm a slow learner, I'm a success, I'm a failure. The list is never ending. The theme of lovability shows up as variations of I'm love, or I have to earn love, or nobody's there for me, I'm not okay as I am. And our stories of who we are based on comparisons to others. Our minds always assess our stories of identity by how we feel our personal qualities compare or contrast to those of others. Especially when we're young, we have thoughts like, I'm smarter than my brother, I'm quieter than my sister, I'm more popular than other people, I'm my favorite child of my mother or father. Stories of identity are based on an individualized experience of your circumstances and relationships that occurred when you were younger. And much of our anxiety stems from these self-limiting stories that are created in childhood, especially stories that we formed around any trauma or any adversity. Let your next breath in lift you up. Start to draw the knee that you set forward back. And you can come into child's pose. Once again, releasing tension in the hips, releasing any tension in the lower spine. One more breath. And now let's inhale and lift up, only to make our way into a supine position. So lying back on the spine, still keeping it low and slow. Let's bend up through both knees, resting our head back on our blanket or rolled up, folded up rather, towel. From here, let's draw both knees into our chest, maybe one at a time or both together. From this position, let's straighten our legs enough to cross one knee and leg over the other. We'll come into shoestring. It's almost as if we're sitting with our legs crossed on a chair. Here, we can draw our knees more toward our chest. We can let our hands sort of slide down the shin bone, maybe hold on somewhere and draw the heels towards the hips. Staying long through the back and spine here. Using the core to keep the knees tucked toward us. Take a breath or two here, feeling this stretch right after pigeon. And as you exhale next, unwind the legs and wind them in the opposite direction. So opposite leg or knee crosses over. Hands can hold the legs in once again, drawing heels to hips. Lengthening through the top of the head, lying here on the floor, on the mat. We'll work on our core just a little bit more here. Coming up next, go ahead and unwind out of shoelace on the opposite side. You can place both feet on the floor about hip distance apart and bend your knees to the sky. We'll keep one leg either planted with knee bent, or we can straighten through that leg. We'll draw the opposite knee towards the chest. Now let's straighten the knee, lifting the foot up to the ceiling. You can use a strap for this, hand to big toe. You can also place your hands behind your thigh. You can interlace your fingers. You can Hold the back of your knee or your calf. Try to keep your foot and your knee in alignment with the right hip. And same on the left side. Exhale and release that leg. We'll bend up through both knees again, both feet on the floor, hip distance apart. We'll switch to the opposite side. Maybe we keep the right knee bent this time, foot on the floor. We'll draw the left knee in towards the body. Hugging this leg in. Then straightening the leg, straightening the knee, holding on to it still, keeping this leg supported if necessary. Letting that knee straighten, pressing through the sole of the foot. Nose to knee. You can use a strap to do this. Around the toes, ball of the foot, below the toes rather. And then go ahead and we'll let that foot float down. Both knees are bent to the sky once again. From here, let's draw both knees into the chest once again. And then on the next inhale, lift the feet towards the sky. Let's extend our arms out from our shoulders too. Face the palms toward each other, shoulders distance apart. Come into a reclined staff pose here, or known in yin as caterpillar. From here, let your hands float down by your sides and come into a yoga walk, bending each knee as you straighten the opposite leg. You might work through the foot by pressing through the heel, the arch, then the toe. And then keep the legs rotating here. Keeping it slow, making the core work here. Letting your feet float down as you're ready to release. And let's come into reclined butterfly. Soles of the feet find each other, knees release out and down to the side, legs relax. Sometimes it's hard to relax the legs and the knees out and down. We can put blocks there to support the knees and legs. We can also change the position of our heels, either making it closer to the hips or farther away. Take another breath here. On the next inhale, lift your knees up toward each other and come back onto the soles of each foot. Let's stretch both legs long towards the end of the mat. Let's draw our arms down by our side. Let's let the next inhale draw the arms and hands up and back into a full body stretch. Breathing slowly. Letting the inhale stretch the body more. The exhales hold the position. Let the next exhale bring your arms down by your side. The next inhale walks each foot back onto the mat, knees bent to the sky, hip distance apart once again. Let's bring just the right knee into the chest for wind relieving pose on the right. Now straighten the left leg, press through that left heel, and let's bring the right leg and knee into reclined tree pose. Sole of the foot somewhere up against the inside of the left leg. Right knee out and release to the side. Maybe your hands are in a mudra by your sides, at your heart, over your head. Take one more breath here. And then release the hands. Straighten the right knee. Let's take another quick full body stretch on the next inhale. Arms go up and back. Stretching here for a full breath or two before exhaling the arms back down by your sides. Let's walk both feet back up onto the floor, bending knees to the sky. Leave the right foot where it is, and this time draw the left knee into the chest for wind relieving pose. Then we'll straighten that right leg long, press through that right heel, release the left knee and come into tree pose with the left foot placed somewhere along the inside of the right leg. Let your hands come to a comfortable place or position. Take 1 to 2 breaths here. And then release your hands. Straighten that left knee. We'll bend up through each leg one final time, bringing our feet to the floor. And let's let the knees release in one direction, both of them kind of lowering to the side and then down towards the mat, coming into a twist here, stretching the arms out wide like a T, palms turned down. Chin can roll over towards the shoulder, either on the same side of the knees or opposite. Take 3 breaths here. Next inhale lifts the chin back towards the sky. Knees on the next inhale can come up as well, resting on the soles of the feet. And then release the knees to the opposite side. Keep your arms out like a T or place them there again if you move them closer. Turn the chin towards the opposite shoulder. Take one more breath here. The next inhale, bring your knees back up towards the sky, and you can come either into a constructive rest shape, knees bent, feet wide, maybe even wider than the mat or to the edges of the mat, legs holding each other up, maybe a block between the legs and knees feels good. Perhaps it's better for you if your legs are long, stretched out. Close down the eyes. Paying attention to where the air is meeting the nostrils, both on the inhale and on the exhale. Paying attention to how the air feels on the upper lip with the inhale and exhale too. And begin now to take deeper and deeper breaths. Imagining the body relaxing with every exhale. Remembering that we are not our thoughts. Our thoughts can't define us completely. They're just one aspect of us. Using yoga to bring the relaxation response, invite it into the body, reducing stress, reducing anxiety. Take 2 to 3 more breaths here. And then, as you're ready, slowly begin to rock your chin from side to side, keeping this movement really slow, keeping the body relaxed. You don't want to raise our level of anxiety or stress as we move here. You want to take this calm, relaxed way of being into wherever we're going next or whatever we're doing next. Bringing the chin back to center. As you're ready, make your way onto one side, pressing yourself up away from the floor. As you're ready, coming up into a comfortable seated position once more, sitting up nice and straight and tall on both sits bones, even. Releasing your arms down by your side. And let's inhale through a sun breath, lifting the arms out and up over the head. Palms come together, and we'll exhale our hands to our heart center. Closing down the eyes. Exhale, releasing your chin towards your chest as we bow to the divine within each of us. The light in me honors the light in each of you. Let your next inhale lift your chin. You can slowly flutter open your eyes, release your hands, and thank you all for joining me today for yoga to help reduce stress and anxiety. Please share with others if you'd like what you're learning. We could all use a little bit of help in this area, I think. Take care and see you next week.